For my final argument that I'll be composing to you is going to be about the one and done rule between the NCAA and the NBA. As my thesis statement, I'll be stating that in this argument, I'll be explaining why I believe that the NCAA's one and done rule that players can leave after 1 year of college basketball is both immoral and makes these players egotistic. The one and done rule has been around for 12 years now, and it's been very controversial since it's been placed in. Back in the day, you used to be able to go straight from college or straight from high school into the NBA, and you had to go to college for anything. But then that included athletes like Kobe, LeBron, and a lot of successful athletes. But now they made it a rule that you have to go into college for at least 1 year. So this has been caused a lot of controversy because you have a lot of these athletes that go to college for 1 year and they're great, and then they just bail out on their team. And then their team is left like, wait, what the heck did you do that for? Like, what are you doing? Like, we're trying to win a national championship, and then you just left us. Like, you had 4 years to play, and then you just left after one. So, to compose some of my argumented points, I'm going to cite an article by ESPN with Lonzo Ball, who was a first-round pick this year by the Lakers. His father, LeVar, has stated that all 3 of his children will be one-and-done athletes and that they will only stay in college for 1 year. Lonzo was a basketball player at UCLA, and his father went around saying he's just going to be a one-and-done guy. And UCLA ended up not winning a national championship. They ended up losing, and he left, and he bailed his team. And now UCLA, his program, is struggling, and he pretty much bailed on him. And it's like, well, what the heck, dude? Like, that's not fair to us. And so one of the biggest things I'd like to argue is one of my argumentative points is the fact that these colleges are giving these players scholarships. They're giving them scholarships to provide them for 4 years, food, meal plan, everything taken care of for these athletes, and then they just bail out on the program. And it's immoral. It's not right. It's not fair, and it's something that really raises an issue towards me. Because of this issue, these athletes are acting immoral because they're bailing on their team after 1 year. And I mean, you work hard. These players, a lot of these teams have seniors that have been putting in 4 years, and then they got a guy that comes out of nowhere, plays 1 year, and it becomes a showcase for that individual. One of the biggest issues is just like Lonzo Ball or Ben Simmons, who was the first overall pick in 2016 by the Philadelphia Sixers. For Ben Simmons, he was the first overall pick, and he went to a school called LSU, and LSU was a very good team. They knocked off a bunch of top teams that went into the March Madness bracket. However, LSU didn't make it, and one of the biggest controversies was the fact that LSU tried so hard to make their team centered around Ben Simmons. The fact that it was unethical by the program, it was unethical it was immoral by the program, it was immoral by the team, and he was being an egotist about it. He said that he was the best player on the team, he deserved to get the ball, he wanted the ball to get 20-plus shots a game. And because of this rule, because he already said in the beginning of the year is that he's going to declare for the draft and that he was going to be a top pick. And because of this, everything involving their team was centered around Ben Simmons. And then their team ended up not making the March Madness bracket, and they lost. So a lot of these seniors and upperclassmen were pissed at him because it was like, well, dude, like, what the F are you doing, dude? Like, we literally just did everything in the season revolved it all around you, and we didn't even make it to where our main goal was. So I believe that it's immoral because it looks so far past the team's goals. Like, what, they just get one guy and they stop whatever they're doing just because they want to get this specific guy to the league? It's very immoral, and Ben Simmons was definitely viewed as an egotist about this because he even admitted, he said, I'm doing this because I just want to go and get the money in the NBA. I'm not going to stay here, and I'm not going to waste my time, and I'm going to the NBA. And that's exactly what he did. Now he's making millions in the NBA, but LSU's program has crumbled. LSU's program hasn't been on the map since he left. They're unheard of right now in college basketball, and it's been like that ever since he left. Another argumentative point is the fact that these athletes have an all-for-themselves mindset. Just like I stated a little bit earlier, is that they don't care for what people think in the program and everything like that. They just worry about what they want for themselves. So these athletes have an all-for-themselves mindset. Lonzo Ball's father stated that all 3 of his children would be one-and-done athletes and be there for 1 year. It is unethical to the university because these athletes are on a so-called scholarship that they'll be receiving free education and paid to attend their school to represent them as athletes, but they just decide to leave a year later. Most of these athletes who are the one and done athletes know that before they're entering that season. They declare for it. This hurts the opportunity for an athlete who plans to attend school for 4 years, and it just wastes scholarship money. This scholarship money could be going to other athletes that they can get there that they could know are going to stay there for 4 years. This money could also go to other things such as stadium renovations and other things, including the items I just listed, and it could help the program as a whole rather than just getting one person who's going to leave. It might give your program a little bit of exposure, but at the end of the day, no one's going to remember the school you went to for 1 year. They're just going to know you as the professional athlete that you are. Citing an ESPN article by Dick Vitale, he believes that the one and done rule hurts the NCAA because it ruins the integrity and the purity of the game. It teaches these kids that it's all about the money rather than people working together to reach a common goal. And I agree with Dick Vitale on this quote because it takes away the purity of the game. The game is supposed to be played as a team and how you work together to try and reach one common goal. And it's everyone coming together, putting forth the best talent that they have together to reach that goal. But instead, when you make it a showcase just for one individual, it becomes very egotistic. And this guy thinks it gets to his head. He thinks he's the best player, and he's going to do whatever he thinks needs to be done. And there were many times last year, or when he played, he was upset because he said he didn't get the ball enough in that game, and that's why they lost. And that makes him an egotist. Another one of my argumentative points is that this hurts the reputation of the school, and it hurts the fan base. When these teams have players that come in for 1 year and they constantly leave, the school gets a little bit of an exposure to it, yes, which is definitely positive. But then when the players leave, they're forgotten about. And then it's like, oh, well, a couple years from now, they'll get another one and done guy, and then they're forgot about again. This hurts it because it continuously keeps the program in a rebuilding phase. So with these players that, yeah, they come in, they do good for their 1 year, and then they act immorally and as an egotist, and then they leave, the program is left with nothing. They don't get rewards because, oh, so-and-so he got drafted, so we're getting a lot of money now because of this. No, they forget about you, especially when you don't keep up with it and you're not a successful team like LSU, because no one's heard of LSU basketball right now. So one of the biggest things is that it hurts the integrity of the game. So now as another citation, I'm going to cite an article by Grant Hughes when he spoke to Kentucky basketball head coach John Calipari, who's been the coach of one of the most notable one-and-done teams. Everyone knows Kentucky's one-and-done team. He was asked on how he feels about it and how does it alter his recruiting. And he stated that it's extremely frustrating because you have these athletes who do so much for, and you try to better them as a person and an athlete, and in return they just use you as a gateway to get to the NBA. So, and they get paid millions, and nothing goes back to the school because they don't owe anything to the school because they have a scholarship. So they don't have to pay the school any money. They don't need to. It's almost like forgotten about that they even attended that school a lot of the times. So I believe is another argumentative point that it's unethical because not only are everything just being a showcase for these athletes, it's immoral because these athletes are just using the school as a gateway. They know for a fact that they're going to be in the NBA. A lot of them know their senior year of high school that they just are told, you have to go to college for 1 year. So pick a good school or pick a school where you know you'll be the top guy, and just that'll push your case why you'll be the NBA draft pick. And it's immoral because they just use these schools as a gateway. These schools are giving these kids a free education and free everything and free perks. They attend school for free, and in return, they just leave a year later without. This is immoral and is unethical because it totally diminishes the purpose of college sports. College sports are designed to better you as an athlete and as an individual as well. Schools preach that as a student athlete, your first primary job is to be a student first. This hurts the development of the players and the program and sets the program back years. That's why I truly believe that this rule allowing these players to leave after 1 year is immoral, and it causes these players to act out as an egotist. Many people have a case to object this, and they do have a pretty good case when they say it. So in an ESPN article featuring NCAA President Mark Emmert, he interviewed the 2016 draft pick Ben Simmons, who is a member of the one-and-done crew and the Philadelphia 76er. he said that this rule sucks, but we got to do what we got to do because we are not making money in college. And this is another debate for another time, but a lot of people bring this up, the fact that these players are putting in so many hours and so much time into this, and they aren't getting paid to do what they're doing. So in return, because these athletes aren't getting paid, they're going to say, well, why am I going to waste an extra 3 years of my career when I could be making millions and going to the NBA? So these athletes, in return, they're not being egotists. They claim that they're being smarter and they're doing the right thing because they're bettering the future for them and their families. And a lot of these athletes are coming from bad areas, and that's why they just use this as their way to get out right away. And they make sure that they can provide and take care of their family. And there's another citation to an in-class topic was the Rock of Ages show. I compare it to this because these athletes are doing what they feel is right, and just like how these people knew that what watching this show and buying the tickets continuously was right. They wanted to please themselves, and they wanted to take care of themselves and make sure everything was okay. And that's why I believe that this is what these athletes are doing. They're making sure that their family's okay, and they're taking care of themselves and their families. And because at the end of the day, just like the Rock of Ages show, the show's still going to go on. There's still going to be many tickets that people can buy, and everything is going to work out. The world's still going to be spinning. And then, for example, with this one, the team is still going to be there, the fan base is still going to be there, the coaches are still going to be there, and basketball is still going to be played. So what's the difference? Why does it matter if I leave instead to go better myself and enjoy what I do, just like how these people are going to go and enjoy the show as well, and everything is going to go on. It's really not that big of a deal. So now when it comes to bringing along my rebuttal statements, first off, I would like to compare this to another in-class citation of Razor Ramon about being egotistic and not getting help. So in this case, the fact that Razor Ramon, he was being very egotistic and he didn't get help, and he didn't listen to the others and how he was impacting them. These athletes are technically doing the very same thing. They know what they're doing. They know the risk, the consequences, the reward, and everything. But instead, they continue to do it, and they declare for the draft, and they go and get drafted, and they leave their program. I compare this because they know all the signs, they know all the warnings, they know everything that's going on, but instead, they still do it. Just like how Razor Ramon could have chose to get help. Instead, he just continued to do what he did, but he knew what he was doing was wrong. And that's how I compare these athletes about being unethical, immoral, and egotists. You could also, I'm citing the priest in the Westboro Baptist Church as my third in-class citation. These athletes may not believe what they're doing is wrong, but in their eyes, they're concerned with their future, most importantly. They're not worried about the feelings of a 14-year-old fan who stays after the game trying to get an autograph. They're not worried about how the fan base feels and how the coaches feel. They're worried about what they feel is right, and that's exactly why the Westboro Baptist Church people, they believe that what they're doing is right, and that's how they feel that this is right. So I believe that in this situation, they believe that what they're doing is right, and they don't really care, because at the end of the day, they're going to better their future for themselves, and that's their main concern for them. Another statement acting as a rebuttal could be the fact that, you know what, they are being egotistic, and they definitely are, because you know what, they might be bettering their lives, their family, but you also have to take into consideration the teammates that are putting in all the hours of hard work and putting all the time in just to make a showcase for you, and it's not fair to them. It's not how things should be handled, and sadly that's the truth today. Though it happens, and it happens often, and that's why I believe that it's wrong, and that's why you can refute that by easily saying, like, why do we have to do a showcase for you when we could be working together and playing 4 years and putting in 4 years of talent? Yeah, stay. It can be a showcase for you, but if you stay and build, we can all build around you, and we could become a better program, and we could do something similar how Villanova won the championship when they had 3 starting seniors, and they didn't care who took the final shot. They knew that they had their talented players out there, and they built around each other. They had some strong best players out there, but, for example, they had Ryan Arcidiacono, who was a very good point guard, but he didn't take the final shot. He passed the ball, and that's what ended up helping, and that's why they won the national championship. Another rebuttal could be in an article by USA Today, they mentioned that a lot of these one-and-done athletes aren't successful because they carry their egotistic ways into the professional basketball league. They say that because they're going from being the top guy and the top guy on every team that they've ever been on to being an average guy at first in the NBA, it doesn't always carry over well. They're saying that because of their egotistic ways, they expect to get the ball every time. They get frustrated, and they go from being a millionaire basketball prospect to now being in a D League in a couple years, and then they don't have a college education. They're only making a couple thousand a year. And then now they're struggling and they don't know what to do, but they could have stayed in college for 4 years, got a good education, and done something similar like Ryan Arcidiacono is doing from Villanova and working his way up to becoming a professional basketball player. So what I have to say is that a lot of these athletes, because they go from being the top basketball player, they don't know how to adjust. They don't know what it's like to not get the ball every play and not always shoot. And that's why it's almost like this whole one and done rule is just teaching these kids to be egotists. And it's almost like a foundation and a fountain for them just to become egotists for the future in the NBA and just in life in general, because they're always being handed everything they've wanted instead of having to work together and work with others. And that's just the way of life, and that's just the way it is. And ways to rebut the fact that they say, you know what, this rule sucks, but we got to do what we got to do because we got to make money, which was Ben Simmons' statement, is the fact that, you know what, you could be, not everything is about basketball. Even if you go to the NBA, and there's been a lot of history of athletes that they haven't been successful when they go in as an after one and done rule player. Often at times they become what people like to call our draft busts, and they're out of the league in a couple of years, and they don't have any money left. So what this could be is you could be an athlete that stays for multiple years, win a national championship, learn more and more values along the way, and just become a moral person and not be an egotist. And your team could work together, potentially win a national championship, and then at the end of the day, you'll have a college degree, and not only a college degree, but you'll also have the privilege of being a national champion. Not only could you have a college degree with that, but then you could get drafted after that. And there's more opportunity, you can make money. And let's just say basketball doesn't work out and you have to work hard for it, but it's not what it is, not what you expected. It would be that way either way if you went earlier or not. And that's one of the biggest things is, yeah, if anything, you're going to get better. You're not going to get worse by staying in college. You're going to grow. You're going to learn more of the nuances in the sport, and you're going to be able to work together with your teammates more. Yeah, you might have a little lesser years in the NBA, but you're going to better yourself as a person, and you're going to better yourself as an athlete and a teammate, most importantly. So I think by staying in college and developing those skills, those soft skills and personal skills, it could better you as a person and as an athlete on the court as well. Another way to rebut the fact that the Rock of Ages show is saying that, you know what, everything is going to be okay, that everything is still going to go as planned, regardless whether I stay or leave. The team's still going to be there just like the concert is, and nothing's going to be that big of a deal. Well, at the end of the day is, it could be a big deal. You don't really know that is because you're not staying. And that's what I'm saying. So if suppose you were to stay, yeah, everything is going to be the same, the team's still going to be there and all that, but why leave? You could simply just stay, and you can work together with the next freshman class that's coming in that you said, oh, well, they're going to leave, more freshmen are coming in, so it'll be the same thing again. One of them will leave the following year. That doesn't have to be that way. If you were to think about all the athletes that could have stayed at Kentucky, for an example, their team could have been a powerhouse in 2 years, and they would have never lost a college basketball game ever. And they could have that much talent and win all these national championships. And then, let's say maybe in 2 or 3 years you leave. You would build a national championship. You help the team and grow. And then you just become better and better. And you don't have to stay all 4 years. You could stay for 2. You could stay for 3. But when you feel is ready, rather than just using it as 1 year, getting a free education for a year, and abusing all of the perks that they give you, and then just leaving. You could take advantage of staying there for multiple years and building those relationships. And when you know it's really ready, then you leave instead of jumping the gun and making it an all about me type season.